Hi everybody, I'm Sarah and welcome to the Big Blue House Homestead. Great day, nice and overcast, possibly like 60% chance of rain. I don't know, it always changes, but it's a perfect day to get out and work hard in my garden. I've been doing a lot of weeding and getting all that done, and it's been like 90-degree weather, but today is tomato day. I have designated today as I have got to tie up my tomatoes, I have to get them pruned, and I have to get that whole process started so my tomato plants will get taller, bigger, and start producing more tomatoes. Now, I have a question if you guys are watching. Do you clip your first blooms off your tomatoes? I'm going to do it on some of mine because the plants are smaller. Chi-Chi, like always. But yeah, I'm going to clip the blooms off of some of mine because they're still smaller plants. And then I don't leave the fasciated blossoms, the ones that are fused. I clip those off. But I'm just curious, do you guys leave all your blossoms on and just let your plants grow and your tomatoes produce? Or do you go ahead and clip those as you're out there doing all your pruning? Just want to know, because a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people don't, and I'm just curious, like always, always curious. So anyway, I got this new tie tape. I've never used this before. I usually use all natural organic stuff like just twine, cotton twine. And the reason being is because at the end of the season I pull my plants, and if that twine comes with them, great. If it doesn't and it stays on the panels, it eventually just, disappears because it will break down over time. But I can throw it all into my compost and I don't have to worry about going through and cleaning up plastic and metal and things of that nature. But this year I decided I'm going to try this because of all the tomato plants I have going on, and I'm doing the cattle panels, and from what a lot of other gardeners say out there on YouTube, that this tie tape works really well. So I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. But I've got a pair of scissors, and I use my kitchen scissors because if I leave them out here, then I don't ruin my good scissors for sewing or crafting or any of that. I just ruin the kitchen scissors that I don't use all that often. But then I have my pruners because I have to get the leaves pruned and I don't want to get tar on my scissors, so back and forth. It's going to be fun. But let's go check out the tomato plants and let's get this started. Oh, I'm going to show you something. Okay, I am not one of those people who likes technology. I had a flip phone up until like 4 years ago, like old school flip phone. You had to press the button 3-4 times to put the little text letter in. Yeah, that's how I was. That's how I am. But for Mother's Day, my kids and my husband bought me a Bluetooth speaker, and I actually figured it out on my own. Yay! I figured out how to sync it to my phone so that I could then turn on music and listen to music while I'm in the garden, because a lot of times I'll listen to just YouTube channels and then I don't get the chance to comment because my hands are dirty and things like that. But I'm gonna listen to music today. I've decided today's gonna be Tomatoes and Carole King. Favorite album is Tapestry. I'm gonna turn that on and just prune away and have fun. Good tunes, play them in your garden. I recommend music for your plants because it helps them get healthy. I actually was playing Carlene, she's an Irish singer that's on YouTube, when I was planting a lot of my stuff, and I left her a comment saying that I love to put beauty in my garden and listening to beautiful music helps my plants grow, and she actually really enjoyed that. So yeah, I encourage you, listen to music in your gardens, If not, at least sing, keep yourself entertained. But yeah, Bluetooth speaker in hand. I also got this big old crate. I usually use laundry baskets, but they're all full of little potted, cups and things that I cleaned up from the garden. But I like to go through and drop everything into a crate so I can just dump it in the compost. All right, let's go and let's work on tomatoes. Okay, so I'm going to start over here with my currant tomatoes. These are very small, little tiny, teeny baby tomatoes. I'm not sure if you can see how big the blossoms actually are on this plant. I do have some tomatoes set on it, and that's great because these are one of my favorite tomatoes, and I don't pluck the blooms off these. These plants stay so small and the tomatoes are so small, I just leave them. But while I'm standing here, I got grass growing up through this again. All right, so this one already being tied up like this, what I'm looking at now is where the dirt's actually hitting these leaves on the bottom, and those are the leaves that I don't want. I want those to be off the ground so that I don't get blights and things of that nature. So I'm just going to come through and start trimming all of these leaves that are touching and get this tomato plant nice and cleaned up. Looks like I also have a little sucker down here coming through. Let's get that off. And with these small little miniature tomatoes, I don't prune all the suckers and things like that. I just tie them up so that they're stationary in one spot and they learn to go up onto this trellising, and I just let them bush out. I don't have any problem with them doing that. Normal tomatoes I will prune down even more. But yeah, I'm going to finish up these and then we'll get back to the other ones and I can show you on big tomato plants the difference. Okay, so looking at these plants, I don't think they're tall enough to start to get onto the fence yet. I mean, I could probably try on some of these taller ones. I'm just gonna let them keep growing. In the meantime, I'm just gonna come through and clip off all these bottom leaves and clip off these suckers. And let's keep this plant nice and healthy. I like to try to get down to a single stem. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these suckers off too up here at the top. And then that way I don't have to worry about this bushing out. I want it to get taller and then start to spread. All right, check out this tomato plant. Look how it's grown. So it's not even putting out like stems like the other ones, you know, big branches. It's just like a cluster. And this is a chocolate cherry. Never grown this variety before, but that's a weird little plant. Okay, so I wanted to actually show you how I prune these tomato plants, kind of up close detail on it all. When I'm looking at this plant, what I basically want is the top part only, and everything underneath that's going to go. So what I usually do is I look to where my top crown piece is. That's what I call it. It's the top couple inches. And I just bend the plant and take my clippers and come down and cut all of this green off. I like to single stem my tomatoes as much as possible so that I can get really nice thick stalks, and then they can hold up my tomatoes as I tie them up. So as this starts to get taller, I'll move it closer to the fence and I'll actually tie it to the fence, and then this will grow up more. But looking at this plant right now, I have in this little arch area a couple of these little suckers, so I'm just going to clip those out, and that way all this plant will do now is grow upward instead of out. But see, I have blooms on them. I think I may leave these just to see what happens. These are just extra tomato plants anyway. Cherry tomatoes I usually don't mind, and small, you know, saladette type size. But with these larger tomatoes, I may just leave them to see what happens. But yeah, basic, simple pruning. Take it down to one little stem, and now all of them are almost done except this last little one over here. Okay, first things first, as I'm going through and doing this, I'm going to pull up any of these big weeds that are on the side. This little monster is a nightmare. It is nothing but thorns, so that one I cannot pull. I have to clip and move with my clippers. But I get a lot of this binding weed that grows through. Not really sure what it's called, but I don't want that growing in my garden. So I try to pull out as much as I can as I go, and then I'm still got, you know, weed control to do and all that, but we'll see. I've got nothing but time on my hands, so I'll get it all done. But these tomatoes, see how they've already leaned away from my trellis? This one's still kind of, you know, close, but this one's leaning away. So I actually need to go ahead and pull this up and start to get it tied. I do have a bean plant underneath it, so yeah, got to get these guys out of the way so my beans can grow. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've got my piece of tie tape. I'm going to go ahead and lift my tomato and get all these bottom branches off. Trim all that off, because like I said, I like to single stem as much as possible. Clean up that mess around it, and you can already see how it isn't as bushy as it was before, but that's fine. It will get bigger and taller. So I'm now going to move it as close to my trellis as possible and try to get a piece of tie tape around it. Okay, that should do. Sometimes you just don't know until you start pulling stuff out. All right, I've already got, oh Jesus, nope, I don't want that on there. All right, already got one of these ginormous blossoms that I was talking about that I don't want, the fasciated blossoms. It's fused. There's, looks like 4 maybe together, but that's just gonna give me a really gnarly tomato, and I don't want that. So we're gonna take that off immediately, and then I'm gonna wrap my tie tape around my trellis, pull my plant through, and tie them up. All right, so now it's contained off the ground. You can see the difference from this one that's been pruned and that's already tied up, and this one that hasn't been. So I'm gonna move down the line and get all these done. Okay, so don't worry about them if they look a little squished. They'll turn themselves back upright. As this tomato plant grows, I'll have to add more tape and keep tying it up more and more and more, but we'll get it all done. Okay, so I've done this tomato row, and you can clearly see the difference. Not all of the plants were tall enough to tie up, but you have to come back and do this weekly. It's not something that you can just do once. You have to come back, repeat, repeat, repeat. But see how thinned out it looks? Now look at these tomatoes over here. Okay, so see how lush and green and full these are? Yeah, they'll look like that soon. I'm going to come through and do all of my tomatoes and cut them all down to a single stem to have one stalk growing up and get that whole trellis filled so that the top is full of all the greenery and not the bottom. But yeah, it's a big difference, and that's a lot of tomato plants, and I have 2 more rows that are full like this, and then I have all the ones over in the other garden. Lots of work. But yeah, see how much I've already filled this crate? And that's just from working on these tomatoes and the ones in the buckets. So yeah, it's a lot to prune off, but it's worth it in the long run if you want healthy, strong, good tomato plants. Oh, check that out. I got a zucchini. And I don't know if you can see him, but there's a bee inside that blossom. Yay! All right, just to give you an idea, see how different the ones in the buckets are? They're all single stem now. That's what I'm gonna do with every single tomato plant. All right, so we got crazy hens laying eggs all the time. Lots of cackle, cackle, cackle. And I got my best friend back here, Chi Chi. So we're gonna end the video because what I am gonna do is go finish all those tomato plants. When you have so many plants like I do, it is an all-day chore. I think when I counted the last time with what had died and what I am keeping, because my neighbor's not taken, I'm at like 186 plants total. It's a lot of tomatoes, a lot of canning, a lot of work, but all worth it in the long run. That's the whole reason why a lot of us garden. I'm gardening mainly to have stuff in my pantry and then to give to the food banks, and I'm also sharing with neighbors. Everybody's struggling, and so I'm trying to do my best to do my part as a gardener and feed everybody. Not everybody. Don't come knocking on my door every day and asking me for a tomato. But, you know, when I come to your door, yeah, you can have a couple tomatoes. That sort of thing. But anyway, yeah. So, pruning tomatoes, you get tomato fingers. I've got tomato tar all over. And they smell like tomato plants, which I don't really care for the smell of tomato plants. I like it when they start, but not when I'm dealing with so many. But lots of work ahead, lots to do, and I'm gonna go get it all done because with an overcast day and it feels really nice out, and maybe we'll get rain today. If I can get all these plants done before that, I'm one step ahead. All right, so thank you guys for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.